Alyssa Jean's Reviews. My name is Alyssa, and this is my review for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 3, Assimilation. If you have not seen this episode, this is your spoiler warning. If you continue on with this video without having watched the episode, you will be assimilated. I mean, you'll be spoiled. That's what I meant to say. Anyways, so let's get into it. This episode did something that I never ever thought Star Trek could ever accomplish. It made me not hate the Borg Queen. It had an episode with the Borg Queen in it that I didn't totally hate her. To be fair, I didn't totally hate her last week either, but this week I kind of like the Borg Queen. Did I ever think I was ever going to say that? I can get into some of the details as I get into the episode a little bit later, but mainly I think they are having a much more interesting and complex depiction of the Borg Queen, especially when compared to how she appears in Voyager, where she's a very cartoonish villain and goes around going, Janeway! It's just so ridiculous. And her interactions here with Jurati are top notch. I actually kind of like it. I still have to just forget about the fact that the very existence of the Borg Queen completely contradicted what they had set up about the Borg prior to that, but that's in the past. I kind of gotta let that go. That was like 30 years ago now. So all right, I'll roll with this. I'm actually kind of enjoying the Borg Queen. I never ever thought I would say that. So Picard has really accomplished something in that, and also we get the time travel thing, which I still think should have happened at the end of last week's episode. Like, I think the whole thing at the beginning was just like, yeah, we already know they're going back in time, and I liked some of that too. I liked 7 of 9. She's got an interesting story arc going on back in the past. I kind of like where Rios' storyline is going, and Raffi is just kind of badass. A lot of interesting things, actually, which I'll get more into, happen in 2024. So overall, I'm still very much digging Picard, and I was apprehensive coming into the season, and so far, so good. So let me go ahead and now get into some of the details of the episode. Okay, so we start off continuing on with this pointless cliffhanger. As I talked about last week, we already have seen the goddamn trailers. We know they're going back in the past. There's 0% chance that those dudes are going to do anything to them or stop them in any way. So let's get on with it. We do get some exciting scenes with the Borg Queen kind of taking over the ship and then kicking the shit out of those Confederation ships that were chasing them, which I do think we needed, but I think that could have happened at the end of last week's episode. I think instead of having 7 of 9's husband beam on and having that stupid cliffhanger, you could have had those ships chasing after them and the Borg Queen, taking over and shooting them down last week, and then we get right to it this week. But, I'm not the writer on the show. I don't have control over these things. And of course, if they did that, then they wouldn't be able to have had the Eleanor death. Eleanor got killed. Yeah, of course he did. Just like Book got killed in the season finale of Discovery. People don't stay dead in Star Trek. The only 2 main characters that ever have been Tasha Yar and Jadzia Dax, and arguably they both came back in different forms, even though you could say technically in their original form they died. But no one stays dead in Star Trek. No one! It just never happens. And they opened the door wide open for Eleanor to come back when Raffi asked Jurati, if we fix the timeline, will Eleanor come back? And Jurati said, I don't know. And Raffi said, well, I'm going with he will come back. And so 100% he will come back, even though it makes no sense. So they're going to go back after they fix the timeline, and Eleanor is just going to be there. So is there also going to be another Picard and another Jurati and another Raffi there? No. So it makes no sense. If he's dead, he's dead. But of course he's not dead. He'll be perfectly fine at the end of the season because there are no stakes in Star Trek. That's just a matter of fact. That's just how Star Trek is, always has been, and always shall be. Your friend. Sorry to add that last part on. Anyways, so the fake death of Eleanor does serve to motivate Raffi. She gets really pissed off at Picard, unfairly blames him for playing around with Q like he's on equal ground with Q, which is completely unfair. And then that does motivate her moving forward, so fair enough. And so, you know, they go back in time, and the three people, Rios, Seven, and Raffi, are trying to go down, beam down near that tower that they can climb up to the top of that tower and see if they can find the Watcher. Now, let's talk about the Watcher for a second, because I saw a video on another YouTube channel yesterday speculating on who the Watcher is, because the Watcher, of course, was first mentioned in last week's episode by the Borg Queen. And in the video they were saying, oh, it could be Cisco, which that would be awesome to see Cisco, but 0% chance that it's Cisco. Just between you and me, it is not Cisco, but that would be awesome to see Cisco. You're going to ask who the Watcher is. What do you mean, who is the Watcher? The Watcher is the one who can see beyond the normal time continuum, the normal timeline, can see beyond into other universes. You know the Watcher? Huh? I mean, it's the Watcher! Okay. All right, I'm kidding. It's not really the Watcher. But I honestly just think it's Guinan, to be perfectly honest with you. But who knows? We'll see. So they set out to find this Watcher. Meanwhile, Picard and Jurati are going to try to get information from the Borg Queen. I'll start with that storyline first, because this was actually fantastic. This battle of wits between Jurati and the Borg Queen. Such an improvement over the, I don't know if you can call it a battle of wits, but whatever you want to call it, between Janeway and the Borg Queen. Janeway! Dubin! So dumb. This was so much better. And actually was hinted at in the trailer. I don't remember what specific scenes there were in the trailer, but I had gotten the impression from the trailer that there was some kind of thing between Jurati and the Borg Queen, like some sort of weird connection, and this is where it starts. And absolutely love the scenes. Alison Pill is fantastic in this episode when she's going on experiencing all these different emotions, and it looks like she kind of gets her ass kicked by the Borg Queen. She turns into a Borg a couple times, like, we are the Borg, and in the end it is revealed that actually she got the upper hand. And I thought that was such a badass scene when she was like, oh, so you have information that we need, huh? Are you sure about that? And the Borg Queen's like, It is so badass. And the line when the Borg Queen was like, you've done something very dangerous and unexpected. You impressed me. Like, it's on. Like, it's on. I am so looking forward to this kind of battle of wits between Jurati and the Borg Queen. I never thought that I would say this, but this is like so much better than the Borg Queen versus Janeway. That I'm not surprised that I would say, but I actually absolutely loved everything about these scenes. Really surprisingly to me. Okay, so then we have those other three characters going down into LA to try to get up to that building. So I want to start with Raffi first, because she has that encounter with that guy who tries to mug her and just totally kicks his ass. But she is in a homeless camp. And I look at that and I go, oh yeah, this is like Portland. Like I see shit like that all over Portland all the time. I mean, they move a lot of times, but you see that everywhere. These tents, the homeless camp, and I'm sure it's in LA too. I haven't been in LA in a long time, so I don't know, but I see that everywhere in Portland. And it's interesting that when she leaves with Seven, they walk past the sign that says Sanctuary District. That is not at all what the Sanctuary District was in the Deep Space Nine episodes in which they originally appeared, which was also in the year 2024. It was like this closed off thing, like it was like a city blocks they weren't like all living in tents and stuff. They were living in apartment buildings. So they've conceptualized the sanctuary districts to make it look like what actually exists in the real world. And I'm pretty sure that if it exists in Portland, it exists in LA as well. So that's interesting that they had that new kind of spin on the sanctuary districts. And so then 709, of course, has that very interesting scene where that little girl's like, are you a superhero? And she kind of goes, don't tell anyone, like winks at her. What is going on with 709? Why are they all like, oh, you have so much confidence? And 709's like, oh, how did I talk to that security guard like that? Like, what's happening? Like, what is that all about? I don't really get it. It's interesting, though. So I'm curious to see what they're doing with 709. I had a lot of fun with this character 709 in this episode. So Raffi and Seven are together. We get a little bit of a mystery as they initially get a signal of what might be the Watcher, but then it vanishes immediately. I'm very intrigued by that. Very intrigued. Maybe this isn't Guinan. It's definitely not Cisco. But very intrigued about this Watcher. But meanwhile, they cannot find Rios now. Rios had the misfortune of beaming into midair and then falling on the ground. And one of the things Picard specifically said was avoid hospitals. So what does Rios do? Go to a hospital immediately. Well, he doesn't really go to a hospital. He goes to this kind of underground, so not underground, but this kind of clinic where they kind of take in illegal aliens, maybe people who don't want to be, on the radar of the police or whatever. And meets, I forget her name, but the doctor character who is most definitely going to fill the role of, I can't remember her name. The chick from Voyage Home. I'm actually going to watch Star Trek 4 Voyage Home next month because I've been watching, one Star Trek movie every month, and I'm going to watch and review Star Trek 4 next month. But it's been a while, so I don't remember that character's name. The one with the 80s haircut who helps Kirk with, she's a whale scientist or whatever. And that it's going to be that role. Or in the Voyager episodes where they go back into the 90s, Sarah Silverman. Remember Sarah Silverman was in those episodes? Kind of the, present day female love interest for one of the male characters who have traveled back into time, who is going to find out that they are time travelers and is going to help them out. It is inevitable. It is one of the repeating tropes any time our Star Trek characters go back into time. But I'm here for it. I like this character. Obviously, they are not going to stay arrested by ICE for very long. I don't know how they're going to get out of it, but obviously they are going to, and eventually will reconnect with 709 and Raffi. So, I don't know. This whole thing still seems a little cliche, still seems Voyage Homey. It still seems like those Voyager episodes, which were kind of a ripoff of a Voyage Home. But I don't know. It's okay. I don't hate it. I'm enjoying it. It's fine. So I think that's really all I have to say about this week's episode of Picard. So let me go ahead and give my rating out of 10. All right, so it's time for my rating out of 10 for this episode. So the previous 2 weeks, I have given an 8 to each of those episodes, and mainly because I'm proceeding cautiously. I'm just not sure where we're going yet. I did not feel ready to pull the trigger on a 9 or a 10, and this week I still don't feel quite ready to pull the trigger on a 9 or a 10 for an episode of Picard. However, I am going to give this an 8.5. So, inching closer to a 9. I absolutely love the Borg Queen stuff, and the fact that I'm uttering that sentence is amazing. Picard has caused me to utter that sentence. Well, I could also say I absolutely love the Jurati stuff. That kind of feels a little better to me. And the time travel stuff, it is what it is. I'm kind of interested in it, but, I'm very intrigued by who this Watcher is. Okay, so 8.5 is my rating for Star Trek Picard, Season 2, Episode 3. All right, everybody. So next week, there is no more Discovery. That means my Picard review should be ready by Thursday night, just when I was uploading my Discovery reviews previously. Now Picard will slide into that slot. So please join me for that. Check out my Discovery review if you don't mind. And please hit the like button on this video and my Discovery video and whatever other videos of mine that you watch. And subscribe. And I will see you very soon. Goodbye, everyone.